This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Good morning, everyone. It's delightful to offer each of you a warm welcome on behalf of Emory University. My name is Jim Wagner, and it's been my privilege for a little over 7 years now to be serving Emory as its president. In addition to welcoming all of you to today's session, I want to welcome those on the stage today, and a special welcome, of course, to our Presidential Distinguished Professor, who is His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. We are delighted to have you here again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before this session begins, entitled Professor's Office Hours, so essentially before we open the door to your office, Professor, I have been asked by the Office of Tibet to make some announcements, or to make an announcement clarifying some of the financial matters of the entire time that we have enjoyed here. First of all, you should know that thanks to the good work of Michael Kloss, whom you have had address you just about every session, thanks to his good work and his team, we were able to sell tickets and price them in such a way that ticket sales have covered the cost of putting on this event. You should know that in addition, there have been sponsorships of each of these events, all of which go to the Emory-Tibet Partnership and the Emory-Tibet Science Initiative. In fact, there have been over $300,000 donated to form an endowment to preserve that, program. But you should know also that not a dollar, this is where he differs from our other professors, not a dollar has gone to pay His Holiness in his professorship here in the form of a stipend or otherwise. And in fact, something you may not know is that His Holiness himself has twice committed $50,000, again to support the Emory-Tibet Partnership and the Science Initiative. So we thank you for that. So, professor's office hours. I heard Tara Doyle remind us that you have described yourself as the hopeless professor. But, to the contrary, while we have had you here this week, we have had you teach, we have had you engaged in research conversation, we have covered issues from happiness to compassion to meditation practices, important collaborations going on between the East and the West. You have very much been a professor.
Oh, okay.
But, take my word for it, I'm your boss.
Yes.
But I'm not sure he believes that. But one of the things, a duty that a professor has is to open his office doors.
Oh.
And when people come in with questions, to do their best to answer those questions. And this is a session on office hours. Now, here's the way it has worked. Some weeks ago, we sent out on campus an invitation inviting people to prepare and present questions for you in anticipation of the visit. We've been able, from those, to group about 50 such questions, but they will be presented in short groups that we've tried to tighten them together in a theme. So we'll listen to these questions. I will try to summarize. As always, you will do whatever you want to do. But then, but then we have our panelists here who may wish to amplify on some of, or follow up to some of your answers. And for those of you in the audience, Steve Everett is professor of music, and we're pleased to have Steve with us. Paula Gomes is representing our staff today, and she is with our faculty staff assistance program. Beth Brandt is a fourth-year student, let's make sure a senior, and is the president of our Student Government Association. And Ira Schwartz is a faculty member and associate dean, also, are you not, in the School of Medicine. Okay, so we have 2 faculty members, a staff member, and a student to help us. So with that, and knowing the ground rules, let's start with our first set of questions to the professor.
My name is Ryan Bass, and I'm a freshman here at Emory University. And my question is, most of us are going into high school as 15-year-olds. And so you were put in charge of a country at the age of 15. How were you able to deal with being in charge of the country at such a young age?
My name is Daniel Brensick, and I'm a first-year Master of Public Health student. My question is, who has been the greatest influence in your life and for your life's mission?
My name is Alex Buchstein. I'm a second-year student studying neuroscience and behavioral biology. And my question is, what does righteous mean to you?
My name is April Brim. I'm a junior and a journalism major. And my question is, what is your biggest fear?
My name is Naomi. I'm a first-year student at the Public Health School, Health Policy. And my question is, how is it that you're able to constantly strive for self-improvement and to reach the pinnacle of enlightenment while at the same time maintaining this transcendentalist spirit and unity with humanity? Essentially, how are you so great and so humble?
My name is Deborah Vidali. I'm a professor in the Department of Anthropology. My question is, what one question do you want answered?
Now, Holiness, yes. I heard sort of 2 kinds of questions there. One, all of these about you personally. We heard words attributed to you like righteousness, greatness, humility. Okay. The thinking cap has gone on, I think. Also, questions about your fears and your uncertainties. But the first 2 questions, maybe we could start with those. They asked at how a young age one could have so much wisdom and courage, and what is the source of your wisdom and courage?
I think I may explain this way. Firstly, my life began with very, very kind mother. So she provided maximum affection. I think that the basis of my sort of the brain function normal. Then, when I study, no exception. My name, Dalai Lama, and some official sort of function. I sit on the high throne. My tutor remain there, low seat. Where? Lower seat. But when I real sort of the session of study, class. So my tutor keeps one whip. Yes.
A whip?
Oh, whip. So at that time, you see, I myself and my elder brother, I think some years we studied together. So my tutor kept 2 whips. One whip, ordinary whip for my brother. Another whip, color yellow. So that's supposed holy whip. But I know if holy whip use, I don't think any difference of holy pain. Same pain. So out of fear, I start my study like that, as a normal sort of student, monk student, in monastic sort of education. Now I realize these study very useful, very helpful to sharpening your mind. And also the including in our sort of study lesson, including logical sort of investigation. Debates is immense help. So when I start with that sort of session, I develop, as soon as I come across something, then immediately the mind come question, why? So it's very useful, very helpful. Then also experience. Experience also one, I think, very useful sort of source to gain more sort of understanding or some new ideas. So these are the, I think, the sources of my
strength,
my strength or my sort of stay.
understanding.
So what you call wisdom or something that come from these factors. I feel like that. So
clearly discipline in education and determination as a result of that contributed to you. Let me turn to our student. Beth, since you are the one in the learning mode officially, what would you like to follow up with on that?
Sure. For those of us who are about to finish our studies here at Emory, whether out of fear or otherwise, what advice would you have for those of us who are about to be turned loose into a world that seems so uncertain and full of turmoil?
Usually, when such people come to see me, I usually telling them, firstly, optimistic attitude, no matter how the difficulties. In order to develop, meantime, you should not sort of take for granted things will be smooth. It's bound to face some obstacles, some problems. So right from the beginning, your mind, they develop, a possibility always there, some difficulties, some obstacles. Then when you actually facing these obstacles, then it's much easier to face, to tackle. Right from the beginning, if you, I think from young age and schooling, many people is caring. Take care.
Take care of you. Yeah.
Take care of you. After finish, then real life start. Then you have the responsibility. You're sort of up to the university level sort of experience. Someone look after you. Now that is no longer there. So whenever you face some problems, you have to carry the responsibility to tackle. So that attitude is expect some problems.
Preparedness.
Okay.
Preparedness.
Preparedness and keep enthusiasm. Any problem. It is quite sure. Kanda zamuli tigariya, draw meal, chidang kange chayagi, tinde kange shimato, suchi, chay manima kange shi yung mari.
One thing that also needs to be borne in mind is that whatever great the challenges and difficulties you may encounter in the real world, it's going to be, a nature of that problem is going to be such that others too have faced it. You are never going to face something that people have never faced in their entire life.
So there is a reason. The millions of people facing same problem, but handled well, and overcome. So why not?
Good point. The final question on that, in that particular group, was an interesting one to ask someone of such full enlightenment. And that was a question you might recall. They wanted to know if there remains one big question for you.
I don't know. I think too many questions.
That's good.
I don't know. I think these days, I think one sort of question is our meeting, our discussion. Firstly, how soon some concrete plan in education field, so that they educate warm-heartedness or compassion. So now quite sufficient material, quite good material already now acquired. Right. So now how to put in the proper implementation.
Do it formally.
That's one question. And then eventually, even rest of the century or later part of century, how much sort of contribution come from these discussion, these sort of meeting. These two questions. Then, that's good. Of course, every day, every week, some sort of facing different sort of circumstances, and then accordingly, different questions come. And whole life, then limitless questions.
Of course, of course. Your answer, though, challenges Emory University. We say that we wish to be about educating for excellence of mind and greatness of heart. Perhaps you're challenging us to make more concrete steps on the latter. We will do our best to follow up. Let's look at the next set of video questions.
Hi, my name is Laura Brayton, and I'm a sixth-year graduate student at Emory University. My question is, in the art of happiness, you speak of education not as a way of becoming more clever, but as a tool of understanding. Could you please offer advice to both students and teachers of how to keep that perspective in mind during our everyday work here at Emory?
I'm Yafet. I'm a freshman from Dallas, Texas, majoring in business. And if you were a student at Emory University, what would you do to calm yourself and find peace from all these stresses?
I am Linda Gooding, professor in the School of Medicine and Microbiology. I've directed a research laboratory for 30 years, and for most of that time, I've also been a meditator and taught meditation. My question to you is, I know that you have spoken about the benefits of bringing together science and spirituality, and I'm asking if you have any advice for those of us who also agree with that and would like some practical guidelines for how to go about it.
Your Holiness, it is a great honor for even an old spirit such as myself to come before you. Your works are indeed an embodiment of the ideals which we here at Emory hold most dear. Since you have joined the ranks of our faculty, I have desired to provide you with the warmest of welcome. My domain shall forever be yours to freely roam. I am Lord Dooley, the eternal spirit of our dear old Emory. In my long time here, I have established a mantra of sorts that everyone repeats at the end of each of my public addresses. It goes, presidents may come and presidents may go. Professors may come and professors may go. Students may come and students may go. But Dooley lives on forever. It has become quite popular and reminds my fellows of the transience of their time here at Emory. Yet, I have learned from my students who have studied your Tibetan way of life that nothing escapes the law of impermanence, not even me, nor this wonderful institution of Emory. Therefore, I ask, how might I, when confronting the supreme reality that even Emory will eventually cease, avoid the temptation to despair, and utilize my realization for good. I thank you, Your Holiness, for your wise words. I trust that all of us here will take them to heart. Yet, I want to leave you with one final question. When you next reincarnate, would you consider joining me as one of the immortal spirits of Emory?
I don't think you want to translate that. Holiness, it would take too long for me to explain Dooley to you. But Dooley is, in fact, an affectionate representative of the spirit of Emory broadly. But I think he had a serious question. It was echoed in some of the other questions. What about dealing and coping not only with stress of the present, but with the despair that may come from understanding our impermanence?
The important thing is our attitude should be realistic. So that means accept the reality. And even our daily life, when we wish something to achieve, then firstly, we should have full knowledge about the goal and method. Then your effort become realistic effort. Without knowing the reality properly, then often your way of approach become unrealistic. So, through unrealistic effort, of course, sometimes by chance may achieve, but otherwise, I think 90% you will fail to achieve that. So, whether this is not question of positive or negative, but any case, we must be a realistic sort of approach. Then, the impermanence is a reality. This is not a mental projection. So impermanence, in deeper sense, momentarily changing. While we begin our sort of session here, already our body changing. For example, you see my hair, within you see the few minutes, a little longer. And here, you know, on white hair. There is also, I think, minute by minute multiply. So that is the sign of change. Everything momentarily changing. That's the reality. There is nothing to feel sad. Nothing. Then here, important thing is, human life, maximum, generally average, 100 years. Then death will come. So there is a limitation. So to compare the life of the planet. It's 100 years, very short. Almost 100th second, something like that. So that short period should be meaningful, useful. What is the meaningful? What is the meaning? What is the meaning of meaningful or useful? Means be warm-hearted, so that your knowledge, your education can be positive, can be constructive. If you remain person too much sort of depression, too much lonely, and too much anxiety, then your knowledge, which received
through your experience at university,
through many years, then you cannot utilize properly. Too much anxiety, too much fear, too much doubt, lack of self-confidence. Then these knowledge even may causing more anxiety, more sort of because of the worry. Some my friend, I noticed, very brilliant brain, but often depressed. So this sophisticated mind or brain sometimes brought more negative effect. So here, more warm-heartedness here, that gives you inner strength. That creates positive atmosphere. That bring much easier to communicate with others. So then loneliness feeling will not come. And you yourself feel some purpose, more friend, trusted people. And you can, once you can make some sort of, some positive contribution, then you feel some kind of fulfillment.
Of purpose.
And then through that way, days and weeks, and months, years, then you feel your life become meaningful, useful. Then ant come, like that picture, skeleton's eye. Skeleton. You see my face, because of the what called glasses. Eventually, I mean, behind these sort of skin or flesh, that skeleton here. Everybody here, including President, my boss. So that's the reality. Nothing sort of unusual. So sometimes it seems to me, sometimes people do not think, you see, this reality, and then just they consider something almost absolute on superficial thing. That's something absolute. So when you face some difficulties or serious illness, and finally death come, you really feel immense of upset. If you, your daily life, remain more realistic and accept the reality, not illusion due to superficial thing, then your life becoming more temple.
Rooted and firm.
I often used to telling my American friend, this is not criticism. Even criticism, if you consider criticism, there is constructive criticism. That is, sometimes of course, I love American sort of style because of the straightforward and easygoing way. It's very good. But sometimes, you see, little positive things happen, and overjoy, shouting, jumping. Little sad things come. Yeah. You should not do that. Our life, of course, there are happy moment and sad moment always there, but your main sort of mental state must remain calm. Too much ups and downs not good, even for your health. So that I want to tell you. So these are, you just use too much sort of emphasis on superficial. Some appearance, nice things come, overjoys. But the reality, oh yes, there are problems. Finally, we have to die. And eventually, our sun will disappear. The whole universe disappear. The other day, or when I the room was the room from the window, so many cars and good roads, very busy. But eventually, after 1,000 years, the presence of the condition cannot remain. And the nature resources also limitation. Of course, the scientists often used to find some new discovery or new sort of the sources, solar energy, something like that. But still, there is limitation. So, if you take it for granted, the present way of life is something permanent, absolute. It is wrong. Like that.
Wonderful. Thank you. You are quite good at this, as a matter of fact. But you mentioned health, and questions of health and education were brought up in this last setting. And the notion that you have been saying, that education should be science and spirituality, and understanding these together. It seems to me that there is no greater place to offer comfort and where we see despair than in our health care and health sciences. Dr. Schwartz is a faculty member in health, and I wonder if you have a quick observation on that.
Thank you. Your Holiness, it seems in our Western culture, we focus now in the 21st century on teaching people about physical health and physical disease. And yet we know intuitively that many of the illnesses we see in our patients and in ourselves are spiritual illnesses and mental illnesses. In your travels around the world, how can you help us Western doctors put everything together so that the treatment of alcoholism and depression and drug addiction and obesity and so many of the illnesses that we suffer from, we address spiritually as well as physically?
Now medical science now gradually showing the physical health also very much related with mental state. Too much anger, too much fear, hatred, actually our immune system ruined. And obviously, too much stress, too much anxiety, lose your sleep, your digestion. If that goes weeks, then real depressions, these things happen. So there is no no way just to treat body alone. Symptoms. No. We must include the mental state. So sometimes we call holistic sort of approach about our health. Mental, healthy mind, healthy body. So the healthy mind, again, we already discussed the realistic approach brings more healthy mind. And then on top of that, more warm-heartedness. I think the realization we are social animal. One individual's life depends on other. So everything, food, shelter, even name, is depend on other. So the rest of the community is the ultimate source of our successful life. So we have to take care of them. There's nothing sort of special, but taking care of the ultimate sources of my own future, like that. So these are more compassionate attitude. Compassion does not mean no sort of the positive benefit to practitioner or oneself. No. I think the benefit out of practice of compassion first go to oneself. Then other, whether a benefit or not, depend on their own way of thinking. I think one example, some occasion, particularly in Germany, I noticed is when my car passing through street, as my usual habit, whenever I come across way.
Face to face, no?
When
we make eye contact.
I always smile. So sometimes you say I smile, then their side also smile. So both get some kind of, at least short period, some pleasant experience. But sometimes when I smile, and particularly some young lady, when I smile, they get, I think, some suspicion. So my sort of, because of the compassionate attitude or positive expression, you see, brings more suspicion on their mind. So you see, the result of the practice of compassion may not show, you see, bring some benefit to other. Clear? So, but the practitioner, himself, herself, more sort of the sense of caring of other, respect other, dear other.
Feeling of connection with others.
Closeness feeling. You get sort of immense sort of, because of that, I don't know how to say, immense sort of safe.
Sense of security.
Feel very happy. Wherever you live, wherever you go, you always feel kind of
So for such a person, you feel wherever you go as if you are moving from one set of friends to another set of friends.
My own experience, sometimes, or many years ago, one Englishman who spent many years in China, and I was told he was also quite close friend with Prime Minister Zhou Enlai. In, I think, early 70s, once he came to see me, Dhammsala, and some of our sort of official staff member who received him, you see, give me a report. Oh, this person really very, very sort of, what to say, have this sort of the Chinese view, communist view. They gave me some kind of warning. Then I met. I treated him like another human being, nothing. And of course, we always say transparent and truthful. So I explained about the situation. And the first day, and then also he showed me some his sort of movie which take in Tibet. So some officials criticized me on that sort of film. But I noticed the person looking at the camera sort of lens, but when they, before they sort of start, so the criticism, their eye looks some other side.
Direction.
So it's very clear that one Chinese there. So you see, they look that face, and then you see telling, oh. So after I saw, you see, that movie, and I also told him, oh, the person in your camera, they criticize something, if that person, same person, if you can brought to Dharamsala, maybe different, I told him. So the second day, third day, then completely changed. That person, a little bit negative towards Tibetan, they completely changed. So, truthful, honest, compassionate attitude really brings big change. Suppose if I meeting with him, more sort of tough sort of attitude, a little bit sort of negative attitude, and more aggressive sort of attitude, I think his attitude also equally becoming more worse and worse. That's clear. That's human nature. So that's why I always say, the using force is simply control your physical, not mind. Real troublemaker is mind, emotion. So they tackle others' mind, others' negative emotion, only through reasons and compassion. Sometimes compassion is more forceful than reason. Isn't it?
You've shown that.
Like that. So therefore, practice of compassion automatically bring honest, truthful, transparent. Some self-centered attitude there, then you always feel some distance from other. That creates suspicion, distrust. Then hypocrisy comes. Ultimately, you will be the loser of inner peace, inner strength. So I think these problems. The other day, I met one Mexican. He complained, the drugs.
Problem of drugs.
From Mexico, at a very difficult to control. But because a lot of Americans use drug, so you see that drug, you see,
being shipped.
So that, if there is no user, no market, then that problem will not come. So that means there are a lot of people who mentally not happy, therefore they rely on drugs, alcohol. So this clearly sign lack of inner strength, lack of ignorance of our own potential. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Thank you. Very strong. Let's see what our third group of video questioners have.
My name is Mignon Gresham. I'm an employee here at Emory in dining services. And my question to the Dalai Lama is, how do you identify your personal gift? I've been told everyone has a gift. How do you identify your personal gift and learn to be a blessing to others as well?
My name is Ravi Grabowitz, and I'm a freshman at Emory studying pre-med. And my question is, would it be better to affect change through acquiring a position of power or through a more ordinary position in society?
I'm Connor Leidecker, and I'm a freshman double major in business and Chinese. And my question is, if I were to incorporate one good habit into my everyday life, what would you suggest and why?
My name is Sarah List, and I'm a first-year student at Emory. My question is, do you believe that it is essential to sacrifice something of yourself and of your own individual purpose in order to practice altruism?
My name is Francisco Santamarina. I'm a senior studying religion. And my question is, Your Holiness, do you think it's wrong for two women who are romantically in love to live together?
My name is Jessica Fink. I'm a junior at Emory University, a journalism major. And my question is, what's a mantra that I can recite to disengage from my daily routine and put things in perspective?
Hi, my name is Sravia, and I'm a first-year student at Emory. My question is, as a student from another culture and background, how do I retain my own sense of identity with my own culture and the new world that I belong to here at Emory?
These are wide-ranging questions. Let me try to put them in a couple of categories. I think we heard some people ask us about gifts and habits, and would like your recommendation about those. We had another group of people ask us about wanting to make a difference. How do you affect society? How do you become altruistic? And do you have to make sacrifices to do that? Maybe I should stop there. There was a very interesting question in there on relationships. Your view on two women who are romantically in love living together. But let me get to, I think if we could touch on all those, people would be fascinated by your answers. But first, gifts and habits that might help empower people to make change.
As for birth, there are sort of different
traits,
gifts or
gifts.
Also there, of course now from the Buddhist viewpoint, so we believe, we have the concept of previous life, beginningless life, life continue. So this life, now for example, same parent, even twin, same opportunity, but there are differences. So of course, some extent, differences of genes also you see there. Then subtle level, the influence of previous life also there. Then, according to theistic religion, I think God creates. So there must be some reasons. So this very life created by God. So there may be some reasons. That only knows God. Nobody knows. So that's when you carry daily life, or including study. And also in daily life, some people, now for example, you see some people, they fond killing fly. Some people, some children, little hesitate. So it's a different sort of habit. And also study. Some, here now my own case, some subject, some Buddhist philosophical sort of subject, some other people, they find very difficult to understand. But my case, without much sort of effort, sometimes you see a bit easy to get the understanding. So generally speaking, the sharpness of my mind, I think from childhood, that also one gift, sort of, one gift. And also laziness, also one gift. No, I always mention I'm a professor, but actually, because the useless, hopeless professor, because I'm quite lazy. So I never do homework. Whatever some idea come, then I express like that. So that also gift.
Gift of laziness.
But usually, those people who have quite sharp mind, they take for granted I can learn easily. So laziness usually come. Those people, less sharpness of mind, they make more effort. So that usually should go like that. But meantime, you see, they much thing, you see, they can change through familiarity and get used. Now, for example, person who early period is short temper, the later part completely change. Then opposite way also is happen. So then, I think already we discussed the fuller knowledge, holistic sort of way of looking, and then more warm-heartedness. That's the main thing in order to carry a meaningful life.
These questions about personal growth, the challenges to us must change each generation. I know Paula Gomes, who's with on our staff, directing our faculty staff assistance program, has a question in that vein. Paula?
Yes. His Holiness, many people are involved in social media, and they have made it a major focus of their lives. What advice can you give to help us all maintain a healthy balance between technology on the one hand and our need for personal growth on the other?
Yes, it seems I think in modern life, particularly young people, they say too much focus or long period, larger period, spend
portion of their time.
Spend looking television or some other sort of thing. Not adequate sort of time or period to look inward. Chilo janjan tendabina, penangajan duty said, Ripper Lebona living in a panto, Govetus Lugris, Social the Sundan. That the computers are not large there, social started sometime in Yungdawin, Govetus, thank you.
There's a Tibetan saying, don't leave the knowledge in the books. Don't leave knowledge in the books. And here, so the point I'm making is that if you focus so much on external stimuli, then you don't leave enough time to kind of integrate and process the knowledge that you get or understanding that you get in a way that it would have an effect on one's behavior. So you need to allow the space and the time to somehow integrate.
And the process of learning, we should not like just copying what book says, what teacher says. We ourselves must analyze this subject and think more. And then you yourself must find reasons to prove that certain point. Then that knowledge is real knowledge. The first level of knowledge is just a copy. So here also now, through television or through computers, you get some information. Then think more. So automatically involve the samudaya.
So if you're more critically reflective, then you will allow the possibility for your own thoughts to arise.
And don't, sounds like he's saying also, do not misunderstand information to be knowledge. Two different things.
Yes.
Why don't we go to another set of video questions?
My name is Max Rupersberg. I'm a third-year student at Emory, and we are from Students for a Free Tibet. And our question is, at Emory, we celebrate Wonderful Wednesdays to build and preserve tradition. Would you please explain the Day of Lakar inside Tibet and its role in the preservation of Tibetan culture?
My name is Anna, and I'm a junior studying art history and visual arts. My question is, will meditation be more influential if it's done individually or in a group?
My name is Olasheni Ajibade. I am a fourth-year student studying chemistry and science, cultures, and society. I'm here with my classmates Yuri and Albert, and we would like to ask the following questions. What is the ultimate truth? And if this truth exists, how can we prove it? If we can prove it, as humans, will we be able to comprehend it?
Hi, my name is Rajiv Valuri, and I'm a freshman at Emory College. My question is, last spring you released a Hindu encyclopedia along with Dr. Seshagiri Rao and others. Remembering institutions such as Nalanda, do you think that Hindus and Buddhists share a common heritage? And if so, what does that mean today?
These seem to be all about world affairs, some of them existential, and some of them very specific about culture and about homelands, Tibet and China, and for that matter, Israel and Palestine. In fact, maybe to amplify on these, may I turn to you, Steve, because I know this is an area of interest to you.
Yes, my question is in regard to the challenges of the Tibetan people. For over 50 years, you've had some Tibetans living in India, some Tibetans living in the United States, all over the world. You also have Tibetans still in Tibet, obviously. Their lives are changing each year, sometimes through natural changes, sometimes being forced to change. Over time, is there a problem that you see with maintaining a unity, or unifying the Tibetan culture through these difficulties? You have many younger generation growing up in India who've never lived in Tibet. Everyone has a different image of what Tibet is. So my question for you is, what is it that makes you a Tibetan, and how do you maintain that as we go forward in this difficult time?
Firstly, Tibetan spirit. I usually call Tibetan spirit. That means feeling, being Tibetan. That's very strong. Inside Tibet, about 6 million, very strong. And outside, about 150,000. Also is very strong. These are those children who born, say, in Canada or in America and Switzerland. They also have a very strong feeling being a Tibetan, as Tibetan. And with that, they respect our own, also the language, our own script, our own, also the traditions, also there. And particularly inside Tibet, very strong. Naturally, so the circumstances is such, so they much sort of they also the
They feel kind of belittled and looked down. Because there was a sort of implicit policy of looking down upon the Tibetan culture.
So, it's the counter sort of stay.
As a reaction.
Reaction, yes. Most or stronger sort of feeling about Tibetan culture. So, There's no problem. Last more than 60 years. And around 1950, mid-50, some destructions already happened. And then finally, 59, we become refugee. So now 51 years passed. But inside Tibet, 3-4 generations now passed, but still very strong. Tibet was the spirit. And then, as far as Buddhism is concerned, in mainland China, of course, traditionally, China is a Buddhist country. There are so many Buddhist temples. So now, recent decades, more and more Chinese becoming more spiritual. Because of that.
Interested in
interest in spirituality. So the number of Christians also increasing. And the number of Buddhists also rapidly increasing. Oh. So that also, you see, because of the positive sort of effect regarding preservation of Tibetan culture or Tibetan Buddhism.
Very good. Let's go back to some of the cultural and spiritual questions in that set. There's a question about the Hindu connection to Buddhism, and also in that same thought, question about the role of festivals in strengthening tradition.
The Hinduism, in broad sense, actually, I think the concept of soul, Atma, and Buddhism, no soul theory. Otherwise, you see, the single-pointed meditation and also analytical meditation and some like recitation, some mantra. All this is common.
Practices. Many of these practices
are common. After all, you see, before Buddhism come, Hinduism already there. So logically, in Buddhism, in Buddhist practice, there are many common sort of practice. Is there. So usually I describe Hinduism and Buddhism like twin spirituality, like that. The real demarcation is Atma, Anatma, soul, non-soul.
Philosophical.
That's philosophical.
Festivals. The question was about the festival of Lakhar, which I have.
Oh, some festivals, yes. New Year. Just Tibetan calendar, something different. Yes, any sort of community. In India, also the South Indian, also they have some special sort of festivals. And East India, West India, North India, each places is in their different sort of festivals. I think Diwali, I think all over India.
Festival of light.
Then Tibetan, also you see, I think since the Tibetan is sort of Buddhist country, people, majority, I think more than 99% Buddhist. So they, some Buddhist festivals. And social, I think usually New Year, like that. Rosa. Like that.
There was a question, which is a very fundamental question, Your Holiness, and this is about the search for and certainty in truth.
That's a difficult question. Usually, I tell people the concepts of one truth, one religion. Then also the concept several truth, several religions. So we have to find, because of that, this directly was a contradiction, but we must find, because of that.
Some kind of reconciliation.
That is, individual case, one concept of one truth, one religion is very important in order to keep your faith, single-pointed faith. But in the terms of several people, now here in this hall, I'm quite sure, you see, a majority are Christian, and some Jews, some Muslims, and maybe some Buddhists. Of course, here we two Buddhists. Then some Hindus, some Muslims also, I think, and some non-believers also there. So now here, within this hall, already the several truth, several religions already there. That's a reality. So in terms of individual, one truth, one religion. In terms of community, several truth, several religion. That's relevant. So no problem.
All should be respected?
Oh yes, I'm Buddhist. Sometimes I describe myself as a staunch Buddhist. That means that through centuries, there's some sort of debate. Buddhist scholars and non-Buddhist scholars, and within Buddhism, a different school of thought. That is Madhyamika philosopher, and Chittamantra philosopher, Swatantik philosopher, and Vibhashek sort of philosopher. There's a lot of sort of debate and sort of critical sort of analyzation.
Critical analysis. Critical analysis.
So I also study in these. So I know the critical sort of analyze about non-Buddhist sort of theory, about independent soul, independent self. A lot of criticism. And also the concept of creator, everything. There also is a critical sort of analysis. So I study these things. So I know. So therefore, I use sometimes say staunch Buddhist. But at the same time, I also say appreciate all major religious tradition really brought immense benefit to humanity, not only in the past, but present and future also. So there is sufficient reason to admire, to appreciate, and that brings respect. So I make distinction. Faith, one's own religion, one's own tradition. Respect to all religions. So with this sort of feeling, I start since 75 It's a different sort of method to promote closer understanding. Number one, meeting with people or scholars from different traditions, different traditions, and discuss what similarity, what differences. Then, of course, there are big differences. Then the question, what is the purpose of this different approach? Same. And then, for example, the concept of God, Creator, tremendous sort of, the force to reduce self-centered attitude, egoistic sort of attitude. You totally submit to God. And then also the God consider infinite love. So more faith towards God, there is natural tendency to practice love, compassion. Buddhists, in order to reduce self-centered attitude, the concept of selflessness, different method, different meaning, different sort of the way, but same goal. Like that. And then, because of law of causality, if you help other, if you serve other, you get benefit. If you harm other, you get suffering. So, with sort of with the concept of law of causality, the enthusiasm, practice of love and compassion comes. So different method, but same goal. So therefore, sufficient reasons respect and admire. And then also, you know, the meeting with practitioners like late Thomas Merton, a wonderful Christian monk from America. And I think in the 70s maybe, or 70s or 80s, he came to Dharamsala, India. 69. I think early 70. Early 70. Oh, then I think the same year, I remember my sort of new residents. I met new residents. So that I shifted, I think, 69. So really, a wonderful sort of practitioner. Our meeting really opened my eye about Christianity. Wonderful. So this such a practitioner, a meeting with practitioner, really gives you the deeper understanding of the other traditions, sort of value. So very useful. Then another thing, pilgrimage. That I started 75 in India. One day, I start pilgrimage, one mosque, one church, one Hindu temple, one Sikh temple, one Buddhist temple, or Jain, like that. So since then, whenever I have the opportunity, I always carry that kind of pilgrimage. And one time, in Bodh Gaya, some Christian group come because the previous year or some time back, they asked me, they invited me, I went there in England, John Main seminar. So they asked me explanation on gospel, sort of certain verses.
Selected passages.
So that's not easy. But that day, that time I need a little homework. So, because mainly, you see, a person who do not who not have the idea of creator, now trying to explain about creator. So that is a little complicated, isn't it? Mm. So, of course, sincerely, I really, you see, do not want to create slightest of suspicion in their mind or question about creator. So I sincerely explain, oh, there is creator, there because of these such reasons. So afterward, they really appreciate about my explanation. So my homework seems to see successful, brought some good result. So return, they come to India and Bodh Gaya. It's another sort of few days seminar. And each morning, those Christian brothers, sisters come to the very place where Buddha enlightened. One Bodhi tree there. Under that tree, we live together, we stay together, and half an hour silent meditation. Wonderful, wonderful. And this same spirit, I also use pilgrimage Jerusalem, and also in France, Le then also the Portugal, Fatima. And at Fatima, I had some strange experience. A small statue, Mary, small statue. And we spent few moments silent meditation. Then about we leaving, I turned back to see the Mary. The Mary actually is smiling at me. So I was a little sort of surprised and some strange sort of experience. So in some cases, one occasion in Germany, I think Austria, one cathedral, one monastery, some sort of meeting. So I went there, I stay in that monastery. They arranged my sort of stay in that monastery. So as I always do, whenever I leaving that monastery, Buddhist monastery as well, before, when I leaving, I made some kind of salutation to the main temple. So there also, you see, before I leaving, in early morning, I went to see, I think, president or something. So early morning, I went to the chapel and in front of Jesus Christ. I really, see, very much moved. You see, this person really made tremendous sort of, the inspiration to millions of people and give hope and give sort of purpose of life. So nearly tear come. And still I'm Buddhist. So you see, it is possible to one single point of sort of faith towards Buddhism and knows these contradictory sort of philosophical views, yet appreciate their contribution for well-being of human being. So no problem.
Something we certainly can learn from you. Thank you very much for that. And I know that our students would like to thank you as well.
Thank you, Professor.
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 Thank you, Professor. Oh, you want to say one thing?
One sentence I want.
The professor has one more. Please.
Whenever I meet let's say, the young student, I always is telling or sharing them that we are 21st century. We are in the 21st century. My generation, I think our generation, you see, belongs 20th century. So now ready to say bye-bye. So you belongs to 21st century. 21st century, only 10 years passed. Now 90 years yet to come. So people who really create a new shape of this century is you. So you must prepare in your mind, not only taking care of yourself, but you must have the sense of sort of responsibility to take care of this planet, or nearly 7 billion human beings. So for that combination, your brilliant mind and warm-hearted, these two things combined, then you can make significant contribution for a better world. And automatically your own individual life becomes then meaningful. That brings you deeper satisfaction. Then end of your body becomes skeleton, then you feel happy.